5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to count down reality TV's most talked about moments with Amanda Bella. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bella Talks TV. It's Amanda Bella here. It's our first video episode of, I was going to say 2025, but we're not even in 2025 yet. I think I'm just already thinking so far into the future, knowing that it is right around the corner. It is December 27th. So, we are getting there. And it's going to be 2025 before we know it. So I think in my head, because what I have planned for today is the most talked about television moments of 2024. So because I'm wrapping that up in my head and knowing that we are at the end here, I just can't believe it. So if you're joining me here on camera, you will see we are here in New York, in our New York apartment. Candy is here sleeping behind me. We got the co-host on the mic here. If you're watching on the camera, honestly, she is passed out behind me. She has that Feliz Navidad, the emo sound that keeps going around. It's like, Feliz Navidad. It's kind of what she looks like right now. My little angel. I don't know what I would have done without her this year. Just being vulnerable with you guys for a moment off the top here. I am not a holidays girly, and I have been struggling. I really, really have been. First of all, it is, my first married Christmas. So doing the right thing here, and you have to start to make sacrifices. And I'm here in New York. I'm not in Michigan with my family this year. And our plan is to switch on and off every year. And, that's the most fair way that you can do stuff like this. But no matter how many episodes of Married at First Sight I've ever seen, any of these shows that I watch, and I try to have these, psychoanalyzing moments where I do connect, and reality TV is life imitating art imitating life. Hey, Candy, you joining us? You're going to join us, Candy Kiss? Oh my gosh, look at this little angel puff. So it has just been a rough year. But, you try to watch all these shows, you try to prepare, you try to learn, what is married life going to be like? And then you get married and you just never know. So it's been a little bit of a struggle not being in Michigan, not being with my family. On top of that, you guys know I had the flu. I survived. I'm so grateful. But it really took a toll on my mental and physical health. I haven't been able to do the things that I normally want to do. And it just feels like I have a brain fog that won't go away. So it's been really hard for me. So even though through all of that, through December 2024 being the craziest, one of the hardest months of the year, if not my whole life, it was just so tough. I still managed to work on my bonus advent calendar, which was me trying to release a new episode every day for you guys. I fell short. I was unable to, really be able to stick to that. It was so hard, but I really did my best, and I'm still proud of what I've done. I'm still proud of all the episodes I put out. Even some of the ones that were in there weren't my best. And that's what I've learned, is not every single one of these episodes is going to be the best podcast anyone's ever heard. It's not really about that. It's more about the overall project over time as a whole versus its individual sound bites or episodes or even seasons of this show. I've had Bella Talks TV for a year and 3 or so months now, and I'm just doing my best out here. I take it one week at a time. I take it one episode at a time, and I'm just grateful for each and every person that's here watching, listening, supporting the show. If you have not yet, I don't know how you found me. If you're new here, if you're an old listener, please pause the show now, go rate me 5 stars and leave a comment. So I'm not somebody who I'm a avoidant person for the most part. I'm not very confrontational. This podcast has been an exercise and an experiment for myself, and finding my voice and learning how to voice my opinions and not be afraid of disagreeing with others, or, the fear of what am I going to do if we get into, it's going to be okay. We can still be friends with people that we disagree with. We can still have family members that we love, that we don't see their POVs. We're all just on our own individual journeys on Earth. If you guys know about the drones, and even a deeper cut, if you know about the Dior bags, then you will know that we right now as a society are truly living life one day at a time, unsure of the future, unsure. People are should I even pay my rent next month? What's going on with the world? So we're all kind of in this weird area of time and space where we're just all collectively understanding that there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. And at least we have reality TV to lean into, to bond over, to talk about. And that's why I've gathered us all here today to talk about reality TV's most talked about moments of 2024. Now, there were so many moments. I was like, do I do a top 25? Do I do a top 20? Officially settled on doing a top 10 of reality TV's most talked about moments. And, my normal countdown, if you guys are here, if you're new here and you haven't, gotten the whole gist of the show, but the point of my show is to do a roundup every week of reality TV's most talked about moments. Now, I do my best to compile these lists on my own through Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and above and beyond, all of the things. I also love to use the Daily Mail, Page Six, Us Weekly, DeuxMoi, and then all of the other podcasts that I listen to and getting their temperature on things that have happened. So I'm out here doing the Lord's work, basically. From the second I get up every single day to the second I go to bed, I'm consuming news, social media, podcasts, episodes, and reality TV shows, which is the whole point of why we are here. So let's get into my show. So every episode that I do, again, is usually a top 5 countdown, but I'm going to do top 10 to round up 2024. And then I also do an OMG and an LOL moment of the week. And I do these every week. I choose a moment that just had my jaw on the floor, like a true OMG, like where my eyes are wide and I have to pause. And I know whenever I grab my phone when I'm watching reality TV and something happens that is so insane that I have to grab my phone and either run and say something about it on Blue Sky, run and Instagram something about it, run and text a friend about it, run and any of the above. Just one of those moments that gets me, that gags me. And then I usually do an LOL moment of the week, which is obviously the moment that had me truly laughing out loud. Not just a funny moment, but the funniest moment of the week that I can gather. I added in an extra segment for this one. I wanted to add in my daily cry, my weekly cry, because sometimes it's a little bit different than the OMG. And I basically cry. Reality TV makes me cry constantly. I'm always crying. I have deep parasocial relationships with these people. So when things happen to them, essentially it happens to me. So I have to add that in for this year. And then I want to do a little bit of just honorable mention at the top of the show here. So let's get right into it. I want to start with the Real Housewives of Orange County. Now, they had their 100th season of Housewives, their season that year, this year, season 17, I believe it was, 18, maybe. That was the 100th episode of Housewives. So we have to just shout that out. I have watched 100 episodes or 100 seasons of Housewives. I watched every single episode, every single city, every single franchise ever. I am a diehard Real Housewives supporter, fan, commentator. I live, eat, breathe, and sleep Housewives. So with that being said, I just want to say I have a little bit of a gripe because I don't know what it is lately. I think because I have dedicated my life to this, and this is my life's work, that it does grind my gears a little bit when I'm listening to all of these other podcasts, right? And they're having their own roundups for the year. I'm not going to call out anyone in particular, but there are just a lot. If you go online and you just even go into Apple Podcasts and type in reality TV moments of 2024, you're going to get a ton of roundup episodes from, your Ryan Bailey's. Okay, fine, I'll name some people. Gibson Jumps, Dylan Hafer, Danny Pellegrino. And with that, there's a lot of roundup shows. Watch What Crappens. I'm trying to think. I know I listen to ladies. Okay, Cara Berry. And I want to shout out her episode, Everyone's Business But Mine with Cara Berry. She actually had Watch What Crappens on her show. And then Sexy Unique Podcast. They haven't done a roundup this year, but I just want to shout them out too. Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald. I have to always listen to her. Giggly Squad even did a Giggly Squad's top 25 or 24 moments. It's just a very common thing to do. So there were a bunch of them. Dumpster Dive with Tom Hamlet. He had a bunch of people on his show. And it was kind of repetitive. They were all obviously swapping. Hey, I'll come on yours, you come on mine, come on yours, come on mine. And that's how it happens. But there's just this upper echelon of these content creators that like, it is so hard to break into. Like if you are not one of the people I just named, Zach Peters, it's like, it's really hard to break into that. I know that Kate Casey is a big one. I just have never listened to her. I think I might have listened to her like once or twice and gave it a shot. It wasn't for me. There's somebody who I'm not even going to mention that I've seen on a bunch of people's roundup lists that I'm like, I can't believe that we're supporting this girl. She is, I think, evil, I would say. Oh, and I love Samantha Bush, Bravo historian. Like, I think that her Patreon podcast, Chronically Online, it's not available on Apple Podcasts. You have to be on, a girly pop, as we call them, that are part of her Patreon. So, I try to shout out some of my ladies, the ladies of Housewives Nightcap, Emily and Lauren. They are so sweet, so amazing. And they are from Access Hollywood. They get like the biggest housewives and Bravo celebrities to come onto their show. So listen to them. And I think the last one I want to shout out is Sophie Ross. She is usually a guest host with So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey every other Monday on his Pop Culture Roundup. So Sophie Ross has a podcast called Snarkbait, where she does deep dives on people that have had, maybe scandals or like have darker sides of them. So yeah, lots of podcasts have, when I'm talking about the podcast world, like these are some of the people that I'm talking about. I love and appreciate every single podcaster. I think we all have our own voices. We all have our own platforms. Like, I think it is like one of the coolest things that you're trying to do. And like, I think it's almost laughable when I try to include myself in this, but like, this is manifesting. I'm trying to, become a part of their world. So, by the time BravoCon 2025 comes around, I would like to have met like some of these bigger goals that I have for 2025. Basically, all I wanted to say with that is that if you are a Bravo content creator, like, have some respect, because I hear a lot of people being like, oh, I don't watch that franchise. Oh, I gave up on that Housewives city. Oh, I never got into X, Y, and Z. Enter like Summer House, Southern Hospitality, Southern Charm, like, all the other shows. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, I just feel like you don't even know how lucky you are to be in the position you are, where you have like this built-in platform audience. Like, I don't know, just like watch all the shows is what I'm trying to say. Like, if you are a specifically Bravo, like not even if you're just like a content creator who talks about reality TV and like you talk about everything, or if you are specifically somebody who is like a Bravo podcast, but you refuse to watch all the shows, or like don't have an interest in discussing, or like don't know. Like, I think I'm getting a little bit triggered even thinking about when I was at Bravo Fan Fest in Miami, and there was a panel that was Bravo celebrities versus Bravo superfans. And they selected these superfans to basically do like trivia during one of these panels. And you guys, the Bravo celebrities beat the Bravo superfans. Like, they didn't know who Jessel was. They couldn't name like some Bravo. Like, it was just, what are we doing? Like I said, I dedicate like my freaking life to this. And I can't even get like 30 people to listen to my podcast or whatever. I honestly don't even know my numbers. I actually don't ever look to like see really how many people listen, how many don't. If I ever get comments, I'm sorry. Like, I try not to even like look at comments. I know I have a 1-star review on my Apple Podcasts. And I've never looked at what it says or anything like that. To me is like the depths of hell. Like, I'm not even going to go and see what it says. But if you guys love me and support me, please go and like cancel out that 1-star pod. I'm sure I pissed somebody off, which I'm learning in 2025. Like, I do have some very unpopular opinions, but I do need to also like be respectful and watch my mouth as well. So, hey, look, I'm growing and evolving myself. So, okay, so that was just like my little gripe to get out at the top of the show. Now, with that being said, 100 episodes or 100 seasons of Real Housewives, incredible. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Daddy Andy. Now, another honorable mention I have written down is that we've had 15 years of Jersey Shore. Yes, we have now had the Jersey Shore OGs in our life for a really long time, for 15 years. I mean, that is half my life, over half my life or something like that. What is math? What is girl math? And so it's been a long time. And I just really appreciate how, they, I think, realize as the OGs, like, I think that they do what Vanderpump Rules was not able to do. And that is, let's put all of our egos aside. We know that individually we are not as strong as we are as an ensemble family cast. Plus, they are genuinely friends outside of the show as well, and they've always been supportive and been for each other through every single life event for the last 15 years. Like, even whether or not they're fighting or not, every wedding, every engagement, every birth, every whatever has been on the show. So it is really a true to form, like, just reality TV show. It is, like, to me, like the creme de la creme. Like, that is the top, Jersey Shore. They have all the original cast, like 15 years. The only time that they had a cast change was when they brought in Dina, and they remind her all the time that she's not an OG, which is kind of funny. Like, Vinny will roast her. Now, of course, we know with Jersey Shore, the most important relationship on that show was Sam and Ronnie. And if you guys are on TikTok, please go over to Ava Louise Lore. She has a lot to say about two of the men on Jersey Shore that she had relations with. And I mean, it just shows you I love when there's this, like, they are not Brad Pitt, George Clooney, like these untouchable, like, stars, these like A-list people. They're reality TV stars that really just are real people that as soon as the cameras go down, I think that they just like live, and then the cameras go up, and it really is like that idea that they're not really like performative for the show. It is a true show that just like shows what they're going through. Now, when they go on these family vacations, I was just complaining about this on my Instagram. It's a little much. The family fun days, the pranks. It's just like the same kind of shit going on every single episode. We have Mike ordering food all the time and just talking about food. And it's just kind of like getting a little bit old. I'm going to need them to, it's hard because I think that they are showing us all their real life, but their real life 15 years later is boring. Like, Sammy has been going through her IVF journey. And I think that has been actually kind of fascinating because she is not pregnant. So I think really seeing, like, again, real reality, like, where it's not perfect in the end, where she ends up having her like miracle baby. She still, I think as of now, is not pregnant. So I think that she's been trying for a really long time. That's with her new boyfriend. Now, sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track because I can talk about Jersey Shore for like an hour itself. But I just want to say, Sammy and Ronnie filming together for the first time since the original show that was on. I mean, as we know, Sammy and Ronnie, I don't have the time to go through all of the lore, but they basically, like, Sammy refused to come back to Jersey Shore and film for many, many years. And then eventually they got Sammy to come back to Jersey Shore this year because I think that they knew, okay, we need to get like all the OGs back together. And then that gave them the opportunity to have Ronnie also film with them, which Ronnie had recently been, kind of ostracized from the group for his own bad behavior in the press and his struggles with addiction and some of the things that went on with him and his ex-baby mama, Jenny, and all of these things. So there's just a lot of stuff that has gone down with Jersey Shore. And I just really had to commend them for 15 years of keeping it fucking real with us. Like, that is a real ass show over there. Everything that happened with Jenny and Roger's divorce, everything that happened with Angelina every single day. She is the gift that keeps giving. She is one of the best reality TV stars of all time. So yeah, 15 years of Jersey Shore, you guys. Cheers to that. Now let's get into my LOL of the year. The moment that really was a true LOL moment, like a moment that went viral immediately, a moment that showed us all a different side of somebody, myself included, because I was a self-proclaimed kind of like hater, if you will, of this person. And now I find myself like thinking of her in a totally different light. So my LOL of the year goes to Teresa Giudice. And the specific moment I'm talking about is when she gets into the House of Villains and she's the second person to arrive into the house. So the first person is Richard Hatch, the original winner of Survivor. And if you guys know, he was somebody who was naked the entire time during Survivor. It made all of the other people very uncomfortable. He was an out gay man, which back in like whatever year this was, 2000 or something, when Survivor premiered, that this was, cutting edge TV. He was like reality TV's first villain, and still to this day, one of the biggest villains ever, which is why he gets voted out of the house like first, because people are like, whoa, this guy's going to win. He like knows how to really like mess with people's heads. So Teresa, having no idea who Richard Hatch is, gets out of this limo, walks in to the House of Villains. And this is the first time we've seen her on reality TV, not in this Queen Bee role of the Real Housewives of New Jersey. We're used to seeing her as Teresa over there. She comes in and she meets Richard, and Richard tells her, oh, do you know who I am? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, this is who I am. And they kind of do a little montage flashback to introduce us. And then she says, oh, are you a top or a bottom? Just straight up asking this man his sexual preferences. And he goes, oh, well, I'm a bottom, and I've never told anybody that before. And so it just kind of was like such a funny moment that you're just like, it kind of hits you later. But that wasn't even the funniest part, because the next question out of her mouth was, do you do poppers? So now she has asked this man, who is, again, a reality TV star, like over 2 decades, spanning 2 decades of reality TV stardom. This man is now being questioned about his sexual preferences and whether or not he partakes in poppers, which it's like, nobody wants to know. Like, I don't want to know that even about a straight person. Like, I don't need to know anybody's sexual stuff. Like, I'm not somebody who's interested in knowing any of that. So just to know that that's like where Teresa went with this, it was so funny. I think that she killed it the entire season on House of Villains. I think she had really funny moments with Candy Muse. She had really funny moments with Safari. She had this one funny moment when she had just gotten into this huge fight with Tiffany New York Pollard, and Tiffany was like, Louie, Louie, Louie. She was making fun of Louie and saying that Louie cheats on Teresa. And Teresa's like in this manic state, and she like runs down to the kitchen. And she's trying to tell everybody like how she loves hanging out with everyone else in the house because they're just a breath of fresh air. But she can't say that because she's Teresa. So she just keeps saying, you're a fresh of breath air. You're a fresh of breath air. You're a fresh of breath air. And then finally Wes from the challenge is like, a breath of fresh air, honey, a breath of fresh air. And she's like, oh yeah, just that whole like performance of her on House of Villains. She had me laughing the entire time. Every single time she showed up on screen. Her final performance was when, then she did the Mother Teresa. Like, if you guys know too, like they had her dress up like Mother Teresa, and they would have these like flashbacks to her when she was being nice to everybody and not being a villain. So that was really funny, even though that wasn't really her. That was really funny of like the producers on House of Villains to make her do that. And then the final thing was when Monica Garcia, reality Von Teese herself, comes out as the voice of the evil narrator of the House of Villains. And Teresa tells everybody that she's a rat and that she went to the federal government to take Jen Shaw down, and that nobody can trust her and nobody should like her. And I couldn't have agreed more. I hate Monica Garcia. And that was actually something that happened in 2024 and I'm not going to talk about it because it was on everybody else's list, reality Von Teese. And plus it was like January 3rd last year. So I basically think that should count as 2023. But anyways, okay. So that was my LOL of the year. Teresa, you really, really had me laughing, girl. Thank you for those moments on House of Villains. Moving over to my cry of the year. The moment that had me crying the most real tears. I mean, I paused, I cried, I snotted, I wiped, I was puffy, I paused again, I tried to watch again, I had to pause it, I had to rewind it. I mean, it took me like 30 minutes to get through this scene. Now, I hope you guys watched the last season of Selling Sunset. I have to talk about Brett and Jason, the tiny twins, the Oppenheim brothers, and Mary and Jason used to date, but now they just are working together in the Oppenheim group with the real estate. When they dated, they had a dog that they adopted together named Nico. Even though their relationship didn't work out, they continued to co-parent this dog for 15 or 16 years. I mean, these guys go way back, which is, again, why Selling Sunset is a really good reality TV show, because I do believe it's a real group of people that work together and are friends and have known each other. Like Amanda, everybody goes back for, I think, like decades. So it actually is a really good show rooted in some reality over there. But when I'm telling you guys, all of a sudden the camera is open to this is like the opening of the episode. It's like the outside, the facade of the house. And then they pan in and it's Jason and Mary sitting on the couch together. And Jason says, you know, Mary, I took Nico to a doctor's appointment the other day because he was like not being himself or whatever, refusing to eat, blah, blah, blah. And Mary, you can tell, is like not expecting anything to happen. She's like, yeah, okay, like Nico's getting older, but like, okay, just lay it on me. She's expecting him to be like, okay, we have to give him medicine or like he's going to need some kind of treatment or something. But when Jason explains to Mary that not only have they found out that Nico is in the later stages of life and having some organ failure, they are in her final days together. And Mary just looks like a Mack truck hit her. It took her a second to really like understand what he was saying. And then as soon as it hit her that she only had a couple of days left with Nico before he was assumed to pass away from, you know, whatever organ failure he was going through. I mean, it was just the way that they cried and started embracing each other. And not just Mary is crying. Jason is in full guttural belly cries coming from the depths of his soul. Watching them, and then they pull away from each other a little bit and they realize how hard they're crying and they laugh for a second, but it does make them continue to even cry even harder. Then they like go back in for like more embracing. I mean, as you guys can see, I have this little fluff behind me. If you're watching me again on YouTube, you will see I have this little angel puff behind me. Now, she's only been with me for 4 years. Her 4th birthday is coming up on Valentine's Day. But like, I cannot imagine like after one more decade too of being with her every single day, like she is my everything. So it just really hit home for me really thinking about like if anything ever happens to her and like the end of Candy's life, like it is just, I should have had a trigger warning on that. I'm sorry, you guys. That was seriously like the hardest I've ever cried watching reality TV. I mean, definitely in 2024, if not ever in my whole life, which is also hard because I think the other time I cried the most was watching Charles on the Golden Bachelorette this season. I mean, every single episode, he had me crying as well. But like, I cried even harder at the dog. And then they had the dog funeral for Nico, and he did pass away a few days later. I mean, I'm still exhausted from it. It's like I have like a migraine. Like, you know, when you cried, you just, oh, your head hurts. I'm having like empathetic pain from that. So that was my cry of the year. I have to pour one out for Nico. Okay, so moving over to my OMG of the year. So again, the moment that truly had me gagged, the moment that had me running to my phone to Google this person. Google, is this true? What is TikTok saying? What is Twitter saying? I needed to know. I needed to know what people were saying because this moment had me just completely shocked at the fact that it is 2025 almost, and people are still not realizing that you can't go on reality TV and hide something. We gonna find you. We are gonna find out. You can't go on there and lie to us. Like, you obviously, like, I love when people try to play the reality TV world. Like, oh, I'm sorry that you think, I'm sorry. You thought you could come on here and literally give a fake storyline? Or come on here, you're trying to come on to a show, like, let's just, I mean, this is going to tie right into my number 10 most talked about moment of the year. So this is actually perfect. So we'll kind of tip back into this. But the OMG moment of the year, the moment that really I still to this day can't believe, and we still don't have answers, and it is a developing story. It happened over on Love is Blind, and we're talking about Tyler hiding his whole ass family going on this dating show. So we know that the point of Love is Blind is that they date in the pods. You don't see the person that you're talking to. You talk to them through a wall. You go on all these dates. You narrow down everybody in the pods. You finally have to decide who your top 2 are. And then eventually you are forced to then decide who you want to be proposed to. Because if you can't get proposed to and or propose to someone else and end in an engagement, then you don't get to go on to see the reveal. And then you also don't get to continue the experiment going on the cast trip afterwards where they all meet and then continuing the trial marriage before deciding to then say yes or no at the altar in the season finale. Now, Tyler comes onto this show and I mean, I can smell a D-bag from a mile away. He never would have like tricked me. But we have to talk about something, you guys. We have to talk about something that happens. This is reality TV and this is real life. So this is like a real life storyline. This is like really like what real life people are like. And that is Christianity. And there's a lot of Christians out there. And there's a lot of people that when dating and when looking for their future partner, they're looking for somebody who is also Christian so that they can be Christians together and raise more Christians. And that's how it goes. And, you know, it has a lot to do with how people were raised. And then it has a lot to do with what people have been through in their own lives that drives them to have such a strong faith. And when we met Ashley, we knew she was in the pods talking, I need a God-fearing man. I needed this. I needed that. God, pray with me. Like when you are with somebody, when you see these types of relationships, I mean, you know that like that is their number one priority. Like they need that. Like that is what they're looking for. And then as long as like that's their number one and they get it, then like all the other stuff kind of becomes like not as important underneath it. Like being faithful, not lying, you know, other examples of things that maybe you would normally morally not put up with, but because they are a man of God, these people are willing to choose to believe that they're better in some way than a man of God that wouldn't be. Okay. Anyways, I can't even get into Christianity versus non-Christianity right now. But like I said, and no shade. Like I got married in the Catholic Church. Like I'm not really trying to like, you know, shade anything. It's just like, it's that it drives me crazy because to me, it's not taking like autonomy of yourself. Like you're just, when you're giving it up to a different source and not being responsible for yourself or like trying to change the outcome of your life on your own. I don't know how to really articulate it, but it just drives me crazy. And so I already was like not my type of person, but Tyler played like right into her palm. Like she really got played because through this manipulation of this man of God that he was being, he really like pulled the wool over her eyes. And they get engaged in the pods. They go on basically the honeymoon / cast trip where they all go and they meet up and everything's going great with them. They're off to a great start and it's almost like too good to be true. And everybody kind of is like, okay, like when is this going to happen? Because I think online by now, people had started to hear like, wait, does Tyler have kids that we don't know about? And so kind of like when Scandival happened, when you see online something happen, but the show's already been filmed and you're watching it kind of play, you're looking for like clues back then. So we start to notice that Tyler's telling Ashley like, oh, how many kids do you want to have? Like, I want to have like 6. I want to have like 6 to 8 kids, like a basketball team. And she's like, no, I think the most kids I would be willing to have would be like 4. And then he's like, okay, perfect. Because in his head, he's thinking, I've already got 3 kids at home. So if she wants 4, then I got 7 kids. First of all, like, I also think it's so weird. Again, you guys, no offense, but like, again, some offense. If you are a man and you're like into having so many kids like that is weird, right? That's like Duggar, like kind of weird, right? Like, why do you want so many children? Why do you want you to spread your seed around so many people? It's kind of like Nick Cannon. Ugh. All right. I'm like, stop, please. So, okay. It's kind of also with like the Mormons. Like I couldn't have Sold on SLC on here, but you guys, like if you're not watching, please go watch Sold on SLC because again, like the Mormons also love to do this, like have as many kids as possible. And it's like, but what are you hiding? Like, what are the kids like making up for? Like, what void is this filling for you? It's a lot of weird stuff going on. So Tyler's hiding his whole family on Love is Blind. Ashley and him, they get engaged, whatever. And then finally, I don't know if production stepped in. I don't know how they ended up having this conversation. But I think that, you know, again, they're getting very close to their decision day when they're going to be at the altar. Like, are they going to actually get married? And I think Tyler either starts to feel guilty or he has some kind of like a slip up during the conversation. Or does Ashley find something out online? Like, remember, they're out in the real world now. They have their phones. Like, does somebody contact? Does she like look him up on Facebook? Like, sorry, my light burnt. Hold on here. Okay, sorry to everybody who's watching on YouTube because my light went out. And then, I mean, it's so dark out so early that if I don't record in the morning, I have no natural daylight, so I'm having to use my little ring light, and it doesn't look that great, so I apologize. But okay, so I was just saying, so Tyler and Ashley sit down on the couch, and they have this scene where they're sitting down, And you can tell that they've been fighting. You can tell that they like had a restless night and they probably didn't sleep in the same bed. And then all of a sudden, it's like they're having this conversation about kids again. And again, this is like a very important thing, as Ashley is this Christian woman. She's trying to have a man marry her, and she's trying to get pregnant right away, basically. And I'm sure that they're talking about this a lot. Like, what is our timeline? Are we going to have kids right away? Like, she wants to do this. She's in love with this man. Like, lest us not forget that she's totally in love with Tyler, and she doesn't realize he's having a family. So she must have pulled it out of him or found out in some way, somehow, that he already has fathered children. It comes out during filming. So we're thinking that like she has no idea this ever happened, or that the kids are a huge secret and we're all offline knowing about it. And we're like, when is it going to be revealed? Is it not going to be revealed till the reunion that Tyler had kids? Like, when are we going to all acknowledge this and talk about it on camera? And Tyler's telling her, I was just a sperm donor, and that I helped out a lesbian couple that I'm friends with that desperately wanted to have kids, and that I just gave them the sperm, and then that was that. And then they had 3 kids, and he was saying that like he's so happy that he did it, and that he was like, he changed their life, and that he was also telling her that he's never seen the kids, and the kids have never seen him. Duh, lie. There's pictures of them all together, spending together the holidays. There's pictures of him wearing best dad ever stuff. I mean, clearly this man has lied. Okay. He's been lying. He lied about the whole thing. He came on. Now, come on the show as a single dad. Just come on the show as a single dad, and then let a woman fall in love with you and for who you are. And then tell them, hey, I helped out this couple, and I fathered these kids, and like, yeah, I am like their father figure. So, they don't live with me, but I am responsible for them, or whatever the truth even is with their relationship with them, because it does seem like it's muddy. And it was a lesbian couple that he, I think, originally did have the intention on having them have their baby, but then it grew into a different relationship where he had, basically slept with her old-fashioned style and got her pregnant. And I think that was because he wanted to have more kids. And I think that he maybe it is interesting, because you would think like, okay, if he would have been like, hey, I really wanted to be a dad. Like, I always wanted to be a dad my whole life, in my 40s now, or however old he is. And I didn't think it was going to happen for me. And so I decided to like co-parent and have a child like out of friendship with somebody. That actually would have been respectable. But it just doesn't seem like that's what happened. And the worst part about this is that they came to the reunion hand in hand, united front. That's her man. And that's it. And they're having more kids together, and she's staying with him. So the fact that Ashley did, because I think if Ashley would have broken up with him and been like, okay, like, and gotten out, I do think that then the truth would have came out, because she would have forced it. Like, she would have made him. They would have probably had her, the other girl, the lesbian in question that had the babies with Tyler. I can't remember her name now. I think her name was Ashley. No, not Ashley too. No, it was something else. But they would have had her come on the reunion and talk about it. Like, she's tried to go on TikTok and give her side of the story. I think her name's Bree, actually, or something. Bree's tried to been like, hey, this is why Tyler and I like had kids together. Like, yes, like I did have feelings for him, but like he didn't have them for me. Like, there's been a lot of like conflicting stories out there. Anyways, that whole thing, the whole idea that Tyler went on this show, applied to be on this show, went on there and hid his kids, and like really thought we'd never find out. And then all of us finding out, and then still having Ashley have his back. Like, OMG. Like, what did we just watch? Like, these are people's real lives. And like, it is crazy, like how fucked up it all gets for reality TV and for 15 minutes of fame, 15 seconds of fame. Okay. So those were my OMG, my LOL, and my cry of the year moments. And let's take a quick little break here, and we'll get into my top 10 most talked about moments of the year. Okay, everybody, welcome back. It's Amanda Bella here again, and thanks for sticking with me. I think I'm going to make this a 2-part episode. I was going to try to squeeze it all into one, but of course, like long-winded me, there's no way I was going to be able to squeeze this all into one episode. So let's get into my top 10 most talked about reality TV moments of the year. Again, it is me, Amanda Bella, here with Candy. If you haven't rated, reviewed, subscribed, please go do all the things to support me. I've been really trying to get to 5,000 followers on Instagram before the end of the year. And I've been so close, but like for every one that I follow or for every one that I get, like I lose like 60. So because I just can't shut the fuck up and keep my opinions to myself, like trashing Beyonce and a couple of other things that I think people really do not like. So another one too, like I'm going to vow, okay, like I think my New Year's resolution, how sad is this? My New Year's resolution is going to be to not comment on Lindsay Hubbard and just, I'm going to like, I guess what I would call give it a pass. I have to like, for my own mental health, I'm not going to be able to survive this season of Summer House. I'm just not going to be able to do it. If I don't just decide to be like, I have to laugh. I have to laugh because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. I'll cry. She drives me absolutely insane. And I know that she's everybody's favorite person in the entire world. And I'm so scared that she's going to end up on the Real Housewives of New York that like, okay, I don't even want to put that out into the universe, but everyone else says it. And the only thing I'm more scared of than that is Paige ending up on there. Please. If anyone from Bravo is listening in some kind of miracle, neither of them, no Paige, no Lindsay, no. Do not put them anywhere in your Housewives, ever. Let it go. Let them go. Let them go. Okay, let's get into it, you guys. My number 10 most talked about reality TV moment of 2024 was the end in the finale of how Devin dumped Jen on The Bachelorette, on her season of The Bachelorette. Now, this was giving me big time Ari and Becca Kufrin vibes back in the day. If you guys remember, Ari picks Becca, they get engaged, they leave The Bachelor together. They have what we now know, they meet up. Like there are secret meetups from when they get engaged to when the show is aired so that they can see each other and not get caught. And on one of these episodes, back when it was Ari told Becca like, hey, like come to the secret crib or whatever. When she got there were cameras she didn't know. He totally blindsided her, broke up with her on camera, and then left her for the runner-up on the show, the girl that he didn't choose in the finale. And then now he's married to her and has like 3 children with her or something, Ari and Lauren. So Lauren now, that was like a huge thing that happened back in the day. Like that would have broke the internet now. And I always think about like how social media would have reacted to certain old reality TV moments back before we had TikTok and all these other things. But not basically the same thing happened this year. It's not even really quite the same thing. But just since then, has there never been a post-Bachelorette, Bachelor moment like this until this year? So we had quite the season with Jen. She was not my, number one choice. I was always going on and on about how I really wanted Maria to be the Bachelorette. I think that was such a missed opportunity. We know that Maria hangs out with a lot of different people, stemming from Pete Davidson all the way to Alex Cooper, and she's in that girl group. She's just like one of my favorite reality TV people that I've ever, like most fascinating people that I still follow and that I'm very interested in, want back on TV. And like that's not everybody. Like it really is special people that have that like star quality that we meet. So Maria, I really wanted to be the Bachelorette. Anyway, she did not get picked. Then it was Jen. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm all in on Jen. I'm going to watch her season anyway. Like, let's do this. Right away, there were a couple frontrunners on her season. One of them was Sam, this guy from like North Carolina, who was kind of a D-bag, but was always just like really, they had a really big physical connection. They were always making out. They were clearly very attracted to each other, and he was always kind of like telling her what she wanted to hear. Everybody else in the house knew that Sam was just totally playing her, and like he wasn't that into her. It's still questionable to this day whether or not he really did like her or if he was there for the wrong reasons, but he didn't get picked, so it doesn't really matter. He gets eliminated. Everybody was so happy when Sam finally went home. And then what was so controversial was that Devin, who was kind of Sam's enemy and a Pete Davidson lookalike, weird circle there, because everybody was always comparing Devin and Pete. They do look a lot alike. But he's like the Houston version, which if you guys are from Houston or like know guys from Houston, like you will know that Devin is very Houston-like. I have friends that live there and people that I know from there. there's just a Houston type, and he's one of them. So he is, really, really into Jen from day one. Like, I think he's the first to say, I love you. Like they have this strong connection the entire show. And it was always like, wow, is she really going to pick him? And there was also this guy, Jonathan, that was like the third place guy. I mean, we know now that Jen actually goes on to do Dancing with the Stars, and then her Dancing with the Stars partner, Sasha, is now who she is dating. So like none of these relationships work out. It's like a kind of like a failed thing. And one of the biggest Bachelorette fears of all, which is for every Bachelorette, is that they're going to get there and that none of the guys are really going to like her. Imagine like going on 30 dates and then having none of them like really like you. And then producers are like, okay, well, like we need people for the show. So they're getting like put in scenarios that, and certain relationships are getting played up, and then people do stay on there just to get paid, to travel, to get followers, for clout. Like there's so many reasons just to go on The Bachelor, Bachelorette. It's so hard now to find people that are genuinely and authentically going into it to find love. Like I wouldn't say it's a 0% chance, but like it is so low. Like most of these people are definitely there just to go on TV, which it's like, I can't really blame them. Like if I was 23, I would do that too, but they are trying to scale a little bit older now, and they are trying to take it like a little bit more seriously. They want real marriages to come out of this because it helps the franchise and makes people want to continue to do it and watch it, which keeps the machine going. So that was really crazy this year when Devin finally gets all the way to the end. Him and Jen get engaged. Everybody's like, wow, holy shit. Like, I mean, this really, everyone kind of doubted them all season. So it was crazy to see them actually get engaged. But then what the craziest part is we go through this whole roller coaster ride with her. And then we find out at the final rose, what they call it, like after the final rose, which is basically the reunion, that they broke up almost immediately. Devin like text message breakups with her after he wins the show, and pretty much is like, yep, see ya. And then he goes on to try to date Maria and a bunch of other influencers. And he basically like gets shunned by Bachelor Nation. Everybody hates him. He gets like blacklisted. I don't know if they're going to, I think they're definitely coming back. They said Bachelor in Paradise 2025, which means they're going to be probably filming soonish. I would guess filming would start for Bachelor in Paradise. Like they're probably like in negotiations after the new year, calling people to see who's going to participate. So I don't know, you guys, you better be watching that because there's nothing like Bachelor in Paradise. Like Love Island is nothing compared to Bachelor in Paradise. That is like the original. Literally puts them on an island and see who makes it out in love. It's such a good show. I think Devin will be there. I don't think Jen will be there if she's dating Sasha still. There would be no point. So, alrighty, that is so exciting. I'm excited to have Bachelor in Paradise back this year. So that was my number 10 most talked about moment of the year. Devin and Jen and Sam, and the whole season was pretty wacky. Okay, so my number 9 most talked about moment of the year is something that kind of recently came out, but it wasn't a recent event. It was the release of the Grand Dom DUI footage, and specifically okay, so I didn't know what to expect. Like, I guess like for me, when Shannon got her DUI, and then even when we saw the picture of her with like the blood coming down her face, and like saw the video, when TMZ released the video of Shannon like skirting around that corner and then hitting that house, like it's not funny knowing that Archie was in the car, but it was like, I don't know what I'm expecting when I see this footage sometimes. And then remember, Shannon also got out of the car and pretended to be walking the dog when she had like blood running down her face when the police came. So, okay, not to like keep comparing always like the DUIs, but that was like insane. So to see the Grand Dom, I don't know what I was expecting, but what we did see in the DUI footage was Ray showing up on the scene, trying to basically be like, okay, she's not going to answer any questions, which she is so drunk, you guys. Like, I cannot believe there's no way Karen obviously thought what would happen is that she could either somehow get out of it, which is weird. I don't know why she would think she would be like above the law like that there. I don't think she's like that much of a social political figure there in Potomac. But obviously she thought that she could just like get out of it. And then she also banked on the fact that I guess that they had made some kind of a mistake, and that hopefully in combing through whatever medical reports or police reports happened from that night, they were going to find some way that was going to like exonerate her. Maybe they didn't like dot some T or dot some I or, cross some T or whatever. Like, I don't know what she thought was going to happen, but it is so clear in the footage that she was, as she said, lit. And specifically when she's sitting in that like interrogation room and her wig is like sliding all the way back, which we have seen a lot of Karen's wig shifts through the seasons. She's not known for having the wig glued down. But I still love her. I still love her. And I still love Shannon too. Like, even though I was really tough on Shannon, like I know her and Tamra have made up. They're already hanging out again. And like, we know that we're going to see, again, like much like Lindsay Hubbard, like I got to let some of these like feuds go and like start anew with some of these people and like appreciate them. So I'm going to do my best with Shannon to do that also. Now for Karen, I still love the Grand Dom. I think that's crazy. Okay, so when she had the wig falling off and then she said that she was Thomas Jefferson's concubine, which is a real thing. I was notified by Jenny Blaze, Bravo and Blaze. Her and I were DMing about this. I'm like, what is up with this? She's like, no, this is like a real thing. I guess it's like a real flex because Thomas Jefferson really did have concubines. And so basically to me, that means that you were probably like the hottest slaves or the slaves that he just was in love with, and he impregnated several slaves or just one slave. I'm unclear how many slaves it was, but now Karen tracing herself back in the lineage to being one of Thomas Jefferson's concubines. I'm not sure if that is facts or if that is fiction, but I think that's very creative. I think it's very creative. And if your drunken words are sober thoughts, that's what she's thinking about in that grand wig of hers. So, it was, to me, it wasn't so like, thank God she didn't hurt anybody. Thank God nobody was hurt. We always say that. It was her second DUI. She's not going to have a license anymore. So I don't think we have to worry about her driving anymore, you guys. I think it truly has been taken away from her from that privilege now. So I'm not worried about her continuing to do anything. She will be having a driver. She will be not drinking, but not driving either. I don't think. I think that those days are over for her. I think that she's also supposedly, allegedly looking at some jail time. I think up to 2 years. I don't think that she will actually serve. I think she'll get probation, possible like ankle monitoring or something. I do not believe that she will go to jail, but I do think that I've already seen some improvements in her. I mean, we haven't seen her drink on camera this season, which a sign that she's at least taking that step. Privately, do your thing. But I don't know what the status of that is, and I just hope that she is doing well. So that was my number 9 most talked about moment of 2024, the Grand Dom's DUI. My number 8 most talked about reality TV moment of the year was the cancellation of the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion. Like our parents talk about where they were when Kennedy was shot. I remember exactly where I was when I found out that there was going to be no Jersey reunion. I was flabbergasted. I was in Florida. I was like sitting on my porch and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this is really the end. Like, this has never happened. Like, Andy has never been like, hey, we're not doing a reunion. And I don't even know if we're going to reboot or not. Like, we're going to just put you guys on a long ass pause. I'm mad at you. And we've never really seen this happen before. So I mean, I'm still talking about it. I'm still thinking about it every single day. I think specifically the fact that they were like, okay, we are not going to do a reunion, but we're going to do our best, like get everybody together and try to do like a final sit down episode. And this is, the part where Margaret reveals that Jackie was the one that had Louis' ex over. Now, to me, that was like the biggest flop because Teresa's unwillingness to just be like, there's no possible way that she can't be mad at Jackie for that. Like, there's just no way. Like, she should have just been like, what the fuck, Jackie? She should have spewed all, like, people would have loved it. The show would have got renewed. But like Dolores recently just said, that she said that basically the egos of the OGs are the ones that kept it from being able to move forward. And she's mad. She wants to be working. She wants everybody to be back doing the show. And I think what they're waiting, I have a couple of different predictions. One prediction that I have is that I think Louis has several different things that he's like in allegedly, legal trouble with, from Venivia to mortgage fraud to stuff with Bo Dietl. I think there was like wire fraud, or I think I read something about like internet fraud or something, like hacking or something. Okay, so I've read all these different lawsuits. I'm thinking that they're just waiting to film until some of these things like maybe are going to be going to court or like going to be in the press so they can talk about it on the show. I mean, I think that if they're going to bring Teresa back, like they're going to bury her. I think they're going to use her like kind of like how they did, unfortunately, when she went to prison. Like, I mean, there is a chance that if Teresa did the exact same thing with Joe, which was mortgage fraud. Now, what happened was Louis and Teresa's house was whatever, how many million, but then they took out like a mortgage that was like 3 times the amount or something. Basically, how you do that is by saying you have certain funds through your income to be able to prove that you can pay back these mortgages. And that's what Juicy Joe did, and that's why he's deported and living in the Bahamas. And I'm worried that that's what's going to happen to Louis. I'm more worried that's going to happen to Teresa again, because I think the judge will not be. This time the daughters are older; they're out of the house. I mean, Adriana is the baby. She's the only one that's left at home. I think Melania is. Yeah, they're all out. Melania's in Florida. I mean, yeah, I think that this time it could be bad. So I'm scared. I'm scared for that. And I think that that's maybe why Bravo is like, we're waiting to see what goes down with that. I mean, we'll see. I think that they also wanted Rachel Fuda to like have her baby and just focus on that. And I think maybe they were waiting to see what would happen with Danielle and her family. And I know because I went to the Jersey softball game this last year. And I saw Danielle's dad there and a lot of her family and getting along. And I know that they have reconciled. And I don't know about the brother, but I do know that at least if they come back, that they would be filming. I think Danielle's mom, Angel, is like also a legend. I love Real Housewives moms in general. Like I love all of the moms. So I just would love to see Jersey come back, but I cannot believe that they canceled the reunion and like everything that went down with that, especially when Jackie admitted that she went and had Vanessa over. Oh, that was crazy. That was so crazy. So moving on to my number 7 most talked about reality TV moment of the year. It is the Jax and Brittany split. So that basically led into what was the Valley. Now, you guys remember when TMZ was filming Brittany moving out of her and Jax's house, and this was before the Valley was even premiering yet. So we all thought that this was fake and for the show. And I, myself included, definitely thought it was fake and for the show. And I actually think that it started as that and then turned into a real separation. Now, I mean, they haven't actually filed for divorce. I think that I would have to look and see if they even have a legal separation. But we do know that they definitely don't live together. Jax is in the home. Brittany has been in a house that she got for her and Cruz. I think Sherry, Brittany's mom, also basically lives in LA and like lives with Brittany and Cruz. And Jax, I mean, I don't know. Where do we even start talking about this? So I think that when Jax basically produced the show, we know that Jax basically was the one that was like, hey, we want to do the show. Like he opened Jax's Studio City, and we know that in season 2, Brittany is opening Brittany's own bar, Brit's Bar. And we watched Jax and Britt, do date night. And they had all these date nights, and she wanted to get her sparkle bag, and all of these things were going on with Jax and Brittany. And I mean, we all know that from the beginning, again, they met in a Vegas club after Vanderpump Rules had already been on the show. We know Zach admitted that he used to watch Vanderpump Rules with Brittany. Brittany was tried to say that she never watched it and didn't know who Jax was when she met him, and that we all know that's a lie. So to me, Brittany's credibility was already lost on me when she didn't just admit, like, yeah, I knew him. Because same with Rachel, she actually sought out James Kennedy. She knew that he was on Vanderpump Rules. She specifically sought him out and started to like date him. It's all very like reality Von Teese, like how Monica sought out Jen Shaw to get on the show. Like this happens. Like real people are like, hey, if they are even 1 degree of separation away from the show, like they're trying to get on that show. They're around when filming is going on. If they can try to date, the best way to get on reality TV is by dating somebody on reality TV. Like that's an automatic into being on the show and being on the cast and filming, just by being around somebody who is somebody on one of these shows. So we see this happen all the time. We're seeing it on Southern Charm right now. We have a girl that is a big fan of the show that is dating Shep. I mean, this happens. They infiltrate. So you have to be, on guard out there, people. So Brittany kind of did this. She wormed her way onto Vanderpump Rules. She decided to stay with Jax, even though Jax basically cheated with her on purpose and then put it on the show to try to get Brittany. I think Jax did that on purpose back then to try to get Brittany to leave and to break up with him, but it didn't work, and she stayed with him. And then that's when his dad died. And I think as soon as his dad died, he was like, fuck, I need to be with Brittany. And it pretty much put him in this position to get married to her. They got married. They had cruise during 2020 baby boom, which was Stassi had a baby, Sheena had a baby, Brittany had a baby, Lala had a baby. They all had babies at the same time, which is totally insane still when I think about it. Like, very, very weird. I definitely, I know that these are probably the reasons why I get 1-star reviews, but I'm just going to say it because I think it's true. I do think the only reason Sheena had a baby was because everybody else was pregnant. And she felt so pressured. And I know that she had a miscarriage, and I know that is very insensitive for me to say. But the fact that it was with Brock and the way that she forced Brock, and then, the Brock of it all, with Brock having the children back in Australia. Oh my gosh. Sheena is actually messy. So she, all of the babies and how babies all were brought into this world. I mean, I think that a lot of it was for television, and they were all thinking Vanderpump Rules is going to get canceled because Jax got fired, Stassi got fired, Kristen got fired, all for being racist in 2020. And this is all when they were all pregnant, and there were a lot of changes going on to the show. So I just think that, the Jax and Brittany split has just been a very long time coming. And I think that Jax either made the show a thing so that he would again have this storyline and have this natural reason to leave her. And then also he's like, I'm going to leave her anyway. We might as well film it and make a show out of it. But when he really went in on Brittany and her drinking, and Brittany's GERD and her throwing up all the time with the drinking in the Valley, oh my gosh. The premiere of the Valley really shook up the Bravo sphere, because we haven't had a show of all of these people in their marriages. Plus the addition of Jesse and Michelle, which were great. Having Kristen on the show, which Kristen's now pregnant with Luke's baby. Luke Van Gogh. I mean, a lot is going on. The Valley definitely is part of Jax and Brittany Split, and that was all part of my number 7 most talked about moment of the year. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in this next season. Jax is, like I said, single now. I don't know if he's dating, but it sounds like him and Brittany are still hooking up, hanging out, having their nights together. I think that they might reconcile at some point. I can see Brittany getting pregnant by him again, and a situation where they were kind of back together a little bit, and them kind of getting their family back together, which I actually think would be great. I'm all for them keeping the family together. So we will see what happens with Jax and Brittany in 2025. Moving on to my number 6 most talked about moment of the year. We have to go back a little bit into the beginning of the year, into season 2 of The Traitors. Now, we were so salivating for this next season of The Traitors because we weren't expecting season 1 to be so damn good. Sari, she took that season 1 home. She was really, I think what's important to know is season 1 of the show, people don't know what to expect, because unless they watched the other franchises that were from the other countries, Australia, I think the UK, wherever the original Traitors was filmed, I think making this American version, nobody really knew. Plus adding in the celebrity reality stars with the regular people that first season, that was a really big, difference between season 1 and season 2, because then season 2, I think they did all reality TV stars, and they didn't have any regular people that were fighting for their chance for the money too. So figuring out who was a traitor, who was not a traitor, or faithful, I think that that's my favorite part in watching the beginning. It's always so weird who they pick, but then you end up seeing why. And I think that we were so surprised to not only see Phaedra, because everyone's talking about Phaedra and her performance in The Traitors, but I think MJ was actually the number 1 part. And we know that she was the most memeable and number 1, pop culture viral moment of the Traitors season. So she is my number 6 most talked about moment. MJ specifically getting to the finale and having CT and Trishelle basically outsmart her / sabotage her, stab her in the back. MJ was a faithful that played the game truly as the most pure reality TV star we've ever seen. And a lot of people don't watch the Shaws. So I think that no one really knew what to expect from MJ. Now, she is somebody who people would say maybe she was a villain on there. I think Reza and her would go back and forth. Actually, they all were very villainous. I would even say, I mean, Mike, we know Mike is a big. I talked a lot about what might happen with Mike Shoehead in 2024. You can Google it. I also talked about it on the podcast. I'm not going to talk about it again today, but they are doing a Shaw's reboot. So I think that this has a lot to do with the fact of how good MJ played the traitors and how she became that moment when she was wearing the tattoo. I mean, again, this is like pre-Ozempic, which is so crazy to look at everybody back like a few years ago now, because now all these people have taken Ozempic and they're like half their size. MJ is one of them. But she was, wearing this like tight skin turtleneck with these cargo jean pants. And the way that she shuffled into the Traitors Castle looking, to sit down and have like a secret meeting, but everybody's like strategizing to get to the finale. And she's just getting kind of like left out in that moment, and people were underestimating her. But she goes on to get to the finale, and she really deserved to win, and ended up not winning because she got stabbed in the back by two challenge players, CT and Trishelle. So I think MJ, just the way that she played the traitors, really was the most talked about moment. I think that she broke through. I think she got her Shaw's a new season to get filmed. I love MJ's husband, Tommy. He is from Queens. He reminds me so much of my husband. He has like such a TV presence, and he's also just like a character. I'm excited to get the Shaw's back on my screen. So that's my number 6 most talked about moment of the year. I'm excited for the traitors to come back. I'm dying to watch Dorinda interact with Gabby from The Bachelorette, from Sierra from Summer House, Chrishell from Selling Sunset. I can't wait to see all these people interacting basically with Dorinda, and Dorinda better be a freaking traitor, and she better go all the way to the end. I'm so excited. Okay, so my number 5 most talked about reality TV moment of the year was the Zach Affleck related to Ben Affleck. No, wait, he's not related to Ben Affleck. They're not second cousins. They're not related. Okay, so who is he? He's just related to these Mormons. He has nothing to do with Ben Affleck. Then he becomes the most hated villain in reality TV of 2024. Yes, we're talking about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. The Jen Affleck and Ben Affleck and Zach Affleck. This is something we talked about all year, because we knew that when this show got announced, it was like halfway through the year in 2024. And we knew that the show was going to be coming out on Hulu, and we were so excited. We were like, okay, what is this all about? And we started to research the cast, and we found out obviously about Taylor Frankie Paul. And that was like the of course, like the catalyst that brought the TV show and why cameras picked up, were to really follow her. But the Afflecks becoming the breakout star, and Zach Affleck specifically turning the internet upside down and uniting us in a time when we thought that this country could not be united. We all had one common enemy, and his name was Zach Affleck. In that moment, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives really blew the lid off reality TV this year. It changed everything, and it gave us a non-housewives show that gave us all like this aspirational, like this motivational feeling again to get online and talk about these real people living their lives for us. Because I really do believe that like they don't have to do this. Like they don't have to do this. They all signed up for this, and it is to entertain us. And I want to make sure we say thank you. So thank you to the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives for doing this for us. And I know that they are in the midst of filming season 2 right now. And it is going to be supersized. They had ordered 20 more episodes. Hulu is paying the big bucks. These girls are ready to show us their real lives. I think I'm really scared, and I hope that they don't come back like too edited next season. But we have to just talk about how the end of season 1 ended. So we meet all of these women for the first time. And Jen Affleck is a quiet Mormon. Her mom is I believe, Ecuadorian or Venezuelan, possibly somewhere where, no, not to be, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm just unsure. I can't remember where her mom emigrated from, but came to Salt Lake City. And then Jen was born there. She grows up to meet Zach. Her and Zach start dating in high school. Zach's parents are prominent Mormons in the Provo. This isn't even in Salt Lake City. This is actually in Provo, Utah, where the show is filmed. And they are BYU, Brigham Young University, doctors, graduates, alumni, and they're basically just like high Mormons in the church. So Jen is very pressured to be, of course, very Mormon, but I actually think that she likes it. She wears the garments. She talks a lot about being part of the church. She loves it. They have 2 kids together, her and Zach. They have a boy and a girl named Luca and Nora, and they're so cute. I mean, they look like they're just like the sweetest little kids. And Jen seems like a really good mom. And Jen's mom lives with Zach and helps take care of the kids. She also cleans at the hospital that Zach's parents are surgeons at. And Zach's family, has a lineage of surgeons that they come from there. So yes, there's a lot riding on this relationship for Jen, her family, her kids, her life, everything. She obviously has been with this man since she was in high school. She's been riding by her man. But what happens in season 1 of this show is they all have basically these husbands that, they're all married or they're all in relationships, and they decide to take these Mormon wives out of town to go to Vegas with Jesse, who is kind of the ringleader of all of the girls, who's like the least Mormon out of all of them, and wants to take them all to Vegas and kind of get them out of town. Because we know that on reality TV shows, they have to go on a cast trip. Like that, the cast trips are where the things happen. Because when you get them all together in these like small areas for a couple days together, and it becomes like a pressure cooker, and everyone starts to confront each other. Cast trips are like the most important part. So they decided to have this cast trip, and because Taylor Frankie Paul is 8 months pregnant with Dakota, which I can't even like get into them on the countdown, but you guys know. So they decided to go to Vegas, and because Taylor Frankie Paul is pregnant, she's like, okay, I need Dakota to come, which I think is bullshit. I think that she was afraid that he was going to cheat on her if she left town, which is so sad because she's pregnant. And I don't think that a lot of women talk about that a lot, like getting cheated on when they're pregnant. Like I think that it is more common than anyone talks about, because that is like so heartbreaking and so sad. But I think that she was so afraid that that was going to happen, and or that Dakota was going to relapse because he's also sober and struggling with addiction and staying in sobriety. So I think that they just did not want to like leave state lines together. So then because Dakota comes, he decides to bring Zach. And Zach is, what we find out, a gambling addict. And again, all of these Mormons have something up their sleeves. They're either porn addicts, they're gambling addicts, they're secret drinkers, they're cheaters. This is sometimes what the problem is with organized religion, is that it's like those who are judging the most are sometimes the ones that are the most sinful. And it's very frustrating to be so contradictory and judgmental and hypocritical. So that's what causes a lot of these problems. So watching this all play out, because Zach is so mean to Jen and always telling her like how she's not a good wife and not loyal, and how he thinks that she's going to do something. And basically they go to Chippendales, and he makes her have like a freaking mental breakdown while he's at the gambling table playing poker with her money, because he doesn't even work, because he's in medical school, and because his parents cut him off because he gambled away all of the money that his parents gave him for medical school to get him through. Now Jen has to do TikToks all day long to give him money to go gamble, and he's yelling at her, calling her a slut, and telling her that he's going to divorce her and that she's going to be a single mom. This was one of like the worst and most crazy reality TV fights we have ever seen. And it is crazy because usually they find a way to hide this, or the producers edit it in a way. Like they showed us like too much. They showed us like the actual texts Zach was sending to Jen. Like Jen disappeared for like 36 hours or something. Like she couldn't be found because she was like finding Zach. And then after all this huge fight goes down in Vegas, they're all still there. It's like their final dinner before they leave to come back to Utah, before Taylor Frankie Paul's going to have the baby and all this stuff is going to happen in the end. And then Jen just shows up and is like, yeah, me and Zach are fine. We're great. She's like, he said he loves me. He says he's sorry, and we're just going to stay together. And I want everyone to pretend like nothing. And then pretty much that's how the season ends. But that is not where it ends, because off-screen drama has continued to happen this entire time. And we know that they are filming season 2 right now, but all signs point to potentially Zach and Jen truly getting divorced in the off season. And it is, we are all unclear, unsure, rumors. I don't know. I don't really want spoilers, but I think that there is real potential that this does lead to a divorce for season 2, which is totally insane. I mean, we know that the girls really rallied around Jen and was like, please leave this loser. We will have your back. But I didn't think that she would actually do it. And I think that it might have actually happened. So Zach Affleck, wow. Just wow. And the whole Ben Affleck thing and them doing the genealogy and actually finding out, oh yeah, that Zach Affleck's actually related to Lala and that they come from the same Utah Mormon lineage. All roads lead back to Bravo. So that was my number 5 most talked about moment of the year. Moving on to my number 4 most talked about moment, we have to talk about Love is Blind again. There was another moment that happened earlier in the year that broke the freaking internet and I think really proved part of the point of this entire show. Yes, this is when Chelsea said that she looked like Megan Fox in the pods. So Chelsea was a girl that was on season 6 of Love is Blind, and she's a cute girl, strawberry blonde hair-ish, like kind of reddish, big blue eyes. I would say she was not, I wouldn't even categorize her as plus size. Like, honestly, this show has kind of proved this point. This is a very unethical show, by the way. Like, if you're watching Love is Blind or The Ultimatum, you'll know these shows are fucked up. So sometimes they do put a girl in there or a guy in there that's really not that cute, that has like that has some maybe messed up like physical features, maybe has some kind of, it isn't traditionally hot. And, you know, a couple of the girls, I'm thinking of Brandon and Alexia, they like, I think it's her name, right? Alexia. Yeah. She, you know, I don't want to be like, oh, she was bigger, but like Chelsea wasn't some like bigger girl. And I know, I'm sorry, this is not like a PC. I know that there's like better ways I can say that, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm just trying to say that she's not a bigger girl. Even if she was bigger, it really wouldn't matter. But it's not like the producers, it's not like she was like some big, like ogre looking girl that they were producers were trying to hide. Now, with that being said, I respect all girls and I'm not some freaking supermodel either. So like, I'm sure people want to talk shit, whatever. People are going to say what they're going to say, but you know, when you sign up for these shows, you know what you sign up for. And the point of this show is to go into the pods, to be behind a wall and not see who you're talking to. And you don't know what they look like. You're not supposed to talk about what race you are, how tall you are, how much you weigh, really, you know, any of these physical features. You're supposed to be getting to know each other for truly who you are, asking questions about your childhood, your faith, what you want in your future, your loves and your interests in your life, your things that you hate. Like, these are the things you're supposed to be asking in the pods. Now, we had the villain back in like season 1, Shake from Chicago, when he asked, oh, would I be able to put you on my shoulders at a music festival? And that was his way of like trying to find out if a girl was like fat or not. Disgusting. Yes, we've had some of these villains, but never have we had anybody quite like Chelsea. Now, Chelsea gets into a conversation with Jimmy in the pods. And Jimmy was, at the time, kind of a hot commodity. Jess was another girl that was super hot. And remember, the girls can see each other in the pods. The girls all live together in the same quarters. They just don't see the guys. So Chelsea knows that that Jess is so hot and that she's also going for Jimmy. And I think Chelsea knew she needed to throw a Hail Mary kind of to like be a front runner for Jimmy because she really wanted to like win him. I think that even Chelsea's own ego kind of looked at the show as like a competition show, thinking like, okay, I need to get like the hottest guy. And I also need to make sure like I get someone to propose to me, because if you don't get proposed to, you're out. So I think that she was really thinking about it like in a competitive, like Survivor way. And she decides to get into a conversation with Jimmy, asking him, oh, what is your celebrity lookalike? And Jimmy goes on to say, well, I mean, I think he knew, like, okay, we're not really supposed to be talking about like our looks, and we're not really supposed to be revealing anything about like what we look like. But like, I guess this is kind of like a harmless game. And I knew that he was probably really curious too, because he kept telling Chelsea, like, I know you're so hot. I can just tell by your voice, like all this stuff. And it's not that Chelsea wasn't hot. Again, like, I don't want to make her sound like she wasn't, but it's just, you know, and it wasn't a competition in looks, but Jess was clearly, when it came to looks, better looking. And then would have ended up with Jimmy. And Jess doesn't end up getting picked and doesn't end up being part of the rest of the show. So like, it really does prove that Chelsea kind of like won. So it's sometimes it's strategy in these shows and not just about whether or not love is blind. So then Jimmy goes on to say, well, I've gotten Christian McCaffrey a few times, which is a quarterback on the San Francisco 49ers that is married to Olivia Culpo. Wow. Really proud of myself because they're not even reality TV people. And like, I knew that. So he compares himself to her and he's like, okay, well, what about you? And Chelsea goes on to say that she thinks her celebrity doppelganger is Megan Fox. And in this moment, I know every single person watching this show, it was the OMG moment of the week. I guarantee go back and find my episode from then. It was my OMG moment of the week. My jaw is still on the floor. Like, are you kidding me, Chelsea? Like, I'm sorry. And I get where she was kind of going there, but I'm telling you, like, no, it just was not accurate. And you know, any man is going to literally, like, without being too graphic, be very excited about Megan Fox being potentially their future wife. Now, this entire conversation went nuts. It really did break the internet. Everybody was talking about this. Poor Chelsea was fighting for her life. I feel bad. I know that she definitely got bullied. I think she had a really good attitude about it because she also knew she brought it upon herself. Like, girl, don't say it. Don't start on Mobinon. Like, don't say it. Don't even give us the chance to say, no, you don't look like Megan Fox. We weren't even thinking that. So that was really a moment that had everybody talking in 2024. I'm still thinking about that. And I think Chelsea's doing fine today. Her and Jimmy are still friends. They were great at the reunion. Jess was on Perfect Match. She had a fling with Harry Jowsey, who is one of the most sought after reality TV stars. So wow, Chelsea, you did it, girl. You did it, girl. That was my number 4. My number 3 most talked about moment of the week. Again, another one that really had me triggered was the moment that Carl broke off the engagement with Lindsay. Now, again, my New Year's resolution is to not talk about Lindsay monetizing her pregnancy and her unborn child and then her baby being born and having Jimmy John's be there to sponsor it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm also not going to talk about the fact that she doesn't live with her fiance. There's absolutely no, or not even her fiance, her baby daddy. There's absolutely no way that doesn't bother her. The way that she pretends like that she's totally cool with it, I think that that's so fake. I think that it would be way more real if she came on to Summer House this summer and she was like, yeah, I better be living with him. Like, he better ask me to move in. He better ask me to get engaged. Like, I'm having his baby. Like, I need Lindsay to continue that warpath. I don't want her to evolve. So if she's not going to act like that, then I'm not sure what we're doing here. I just think that there's absolutely no freaking way that she's not like upset. Like, there's any person is going to want to like be with that person. I mean, she had to turn Carl's old bedroom in the 2-bedroom apartment they had into the baby nursery. That was Carl's old room. So the moment when Carl was in that cursed apartment and he told the producers to come, I need Andy and a camera because I'm going to break up with Lindsay. And I do believe, yes. I don't think he told the producers, but yes, I actually do think that he went into that final conversation like with the intention to basically give Lindsay an ultimatum. I don't think that she was going to choose to go with the breakup route. So that's where the nuance is in the gray area in that moment. She was blindsided, I think, because I think all she heard was calling off the wedding and she saw red. And I think Carl thought that would actually trigger her to sit and have a conversation and like a come to Jesus and be like, wow, we can't call this wedding off. Like, we need to fix this. Like, I love you. I need to be with you. But because like neither of them did that, and it actually did result in them calling off the wedding, refunding everybody, breaking up, Carl having to move out and pay a year of $13,000 a month or whatever it was, $6,000 a month, half of the rent for the next year when he didn't live there on top of his own rent. I mean, him getting called a POS for being an influencer / reality TV star when that's her job. All of these things, her calling him Cocaine Carl. I think the Cocaine Carl specifically, that moment was the number 3 most talked about moment. That blew my mind. She called her fiance in recovery. She accused him of being on coke and then doubled down saying Cocaine Carl. Yes, I know him. I know when he gets like this. And I'm going to also just say, I think that she was the one that was partaking, allegedly. and that she got paranoid or something, that it was him. I mean, the smoking weed of it all, I do think it's really good that Carl has at least admitted that he is just California sober. It's like good to just be transparent with everybody. I don't think that he owed that to anybody. I think that she outed him basically. But, you know, it's good that he's living his truth. And then now he's doing the soft drinks, and then they're doing the lover boy with the THC that Carl is in charge of. It's good. It's good. These are all good things. I've always been Team Carl. I think it's been like kind of despicable the way that he's been painted, but I understand that as a girl, I don't think there's such thing as being like a girl's girl. I would never say I'm like not a girl's girl either. Like I definitely am a girl's girl. I mean, the girls that I love, I fucking ride for. So it's to me, I just think that she's just not my cup of tea. And that's why I'm really hoping that this new season of Summer House focuses a lot more on the newbies. Also, I would love to see more focus and pressure on Paige and Craig, because I do think that an ultimatum is coming their way. And there's a lot of rumors that people trying to say that they're secretly engaged, and there's absolutely no way that I believe that. There's no way. So just marking my words here, there's no way that they're secretly engaged. Just no way. They wouldn't have it, and everyone's like, no, they would probably get paid so much. Like if they're doing it for their careers, if they're like such career people, then they're going to put it all into their show, I would think, and putting it into like giving us everything and not hiding that. So I really feel like that would be like a big slap in the face if our favorite reality TV stars, they did not share their engagement and or wedding with us. That is bullshit to me. So I think kind of with Lindsay, I'm like chip on the shoulder. I know it's not her fault that this man doesn't want to film, but be honest and then just talk about him on film and talk about your struggles and talk about what you guys talk about. Because I guarantee you guys talk about stuff and have conversations. We need to have insight into your life and what it's like living, because that's why we watch reality TV. So I commend Carl for calling the producers. I believe it was just like how when Ariana called the producers on Scandival, when she said, hey, we broke up. I know we're not filming anymore. Grab the cameras. We have shit. We're breaking up. Come film it. I think the same thing was kind of like what we saw here. I think it was a double standard to support one and not the other. And yeah, we'll see how this new season plays out. That was my number 3 most talked about moment. Getting down to my last 2 talked about moments of the year. You guys, thanks for still being with me. If you're still here an hour and a half into the show, again, I'm breaking this up into 2 parts for you guys. I'll be doing the OMG, everything like that. The first segment, the second segment will just be the top 10 countdown. So if you're looking for specific content, you will find it there. And moving on to my number 2 most talked about moment of the year. So we had the release of Gypsy Rose leaving prison at the very tail end of 2023. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, she was released from prison last year. We had Lifetime cameras pick up and follow her release to when she was released to her husband, Ryan Anderson, who she met while she was in prison, married while she was in prison, and then was released to him. And cameras came, followed them. They got picked up. Then they also followed how Gypsy's dad, Rod, is now part of her life and was also going to be part of monitoring her during her release on parole. He lives with his wife, her Gypsy's stepmom. Her name is Christy, and they have one daughter named Mia. So Gypsy has a step half sister that is named Mia, and what we've come to find out is that Gypsy's very jealous of Mia. Mia has lived a very normal life. She's not a convicted murderer, and she has just graduated from college. She has a great boyfriend. She's a super cutie girl. And I think that there's just like a lot of tension there, which leads to then a fight for season 2. But let's just talk about the actual number 1 most talked about moment is Gypsy gets released from prison. She's with Ryan. Cameras are following them. She decides to divorce Ryan about 6 weeks into her being released from prison. They get into a fight in Ryan's car in a parking lot. She tells him she wants a divorce. And then one day later, she goes out of town, meets up with Ken, who is a man that she previously dated while she was in prison and has met like a few times in prison, that she always felt was like the one that got away. So she gets out of prison and pretty much she's like, okay, for her to be able to get released from prison and not have to live with her parents, the only way that she can avoid that is by living with somebody that she's married to. So she finds Ryan, she marries Ryan, she gets released with him. She's like, But all this time she's thinking about Ken and basically just being able to get out and like be able to be with Ken still, because that's her true soulmate. So she uses Ryan, she divorces him, she meets up with Ken like the next day. And then we find out that she's pregnant. And we don't know still to this day whose baby this is. If this was Ryan's or this was Ken's. Because they really showed on the show how when Gypsy was released, she really wanted to have a baby. And she was talking about getting pregnant with Ryan. And her whole family was like, Gypsy, you've only been out of prison for like 6 weeks. Why don't you pump the brakes a little bit? Like, you have so much life that you haven't lived yet. You need to heal from prison. You need to heal from your trauma. Like, you need to figure out life. Like, don't have a baby yet. So then we watched Gypsy take a plan B on camera. And she's like, I do not want to have Ryan's baby. I do not want to get pregnant right now. And that was crazy. That also like was a huge moment. I talked about that for like 5 weeks. That blew my mind that she took the plan B on camera with like red Kool-Aid. So then she has the guts to break up with Ryan. They have a huge fight over TikTok money, because we all know that when Gypsy first got released, she was like, wow, I get to have social media for the first time. And she immediately had like 8 million followers on her Instagram from the day she started it, which, as you know, as social media people, you can monetize your following. So she right away was like given like a gold mine if she was going to be able to become like an influencer. But Gypsy is just not cut out for this life, because she is way too real. And she does not understand, like, you can't live life like it is a reality TV show. You have to like live your real life. And so because she was getting herself into like so many crazy predicaments, like she just would be being messy, reaching out to her ex while she's married, talking to Ryan about how she misses Ken. And Ryan would be like, okay, but you're married now, you know, like you're with me now. Then she would talk about like wanting Christian Louis Vuittons, she would call them, Louis Vuitton. She'd be like, I want Christian Louis Vuitton shoes, which are two different things. Christian Louis Vuitton and Louis Vuitton are not the same thing. So she was just having like all these cultural references. You could tell that she really wanted to like be a Kardashian. She wanted to be really sexy. Like, she would be dressing different, and then she was getting plastic surgery, and then she dyed her hair. Like, shout out me also. I'm also rocking the bleach blonde bob again, because that's what happens when you have a mental breakdown. You chop your hair. So I think just watching the transformation of Gypsy leaving prison and becoming pregnant and not knowing who the baby daddy was, and going through this like renaissance so quickly when she left, it has just been a whirlwind. And we are still awaiting the birth of this child. So I talk a lot about how Lindsay Hubbard had her baby already. We thought that Gypsy was going to have her baby around the same time. Pictures of Gypsy currently don't even like look like she's pregnant. I mean, there are so many questions still to this day about what is going on. Gypsy deleted all of her social media. She won't use her TikTok anymore. She won't use her Instagram anymore. I mean, we don't know what like the real truth is. Ryan stopped doing TikTok lives. I think that Lifetime got to them and paid them off or something. I don't know what is going on, but we don't know, and we need answers, because this baby needs to be born. We need paternity tests. I need paperwork, and I need to know if Gypsy and Ken are still together to this day, because there's a lot of rumors that they also broke up. Now there's also rumors that Ryan and Gypsy might get back together. I need to know. Gypsy Rose is my number 2 most talked about reality TV star moment of the year. And that brings us to the end, you guys. We have made it all the way to my number 1 most talked about moment of the year. I can't believe it. I can't believe that we have to utter these words. I can't believe that this is the reality that we're living in. But unfortunately, this is time for us to swallow the pill and get it over with. Vanderpump Rules has been canceled, and the entire cast was fired about a month ago. And I'm still getting over it. I have been blaming a lot of people for this. I have been bargaining with God, trying to find a way. I think the valley is like our gift, like our tie. It was kind of like our parting gift. It's not the same, but it like softens the blow a little bit. Like, I still have Jax. I still have Jax and Brittany. I still have Kristen Doty. I think we're going to be, unfortunately, getting some Sheena and Lala on the Valley. Sounds like Schwartz film. We've recently even heard that Ariana said that she's open to filming with the Valley, which is totally insane, and I did not see that coming. But I actually think that her and Dan are going to end up getting married. I don't know why I think that. I just have a feeling that like she's going to end up marrying this guy, and that maybe she'll move to New York. Dan owns or co-owns or manages or whatever bars here. So I think that like I could see them bartending, and then also continuing for her to do her, Broadway and acting and her appearances and stuff. But like eventually that I think will dry up for her, and then they will just live like a normal couple in New York City, I think. I have to say, and I've talked so much about James Kennedy's domestic violence, but James, I'm fucking pissed at you, and I'm really mad at you, and I'm disgusted by your behavior, and I'm mad that I co-signed you for so long. And yeah, I'm not going to forgive you. So I really hope that you, like, I don't know, change. And I also hope that you apologize. You owe everybody an apology, including Allie, including Raquel. You should do a public apology to Raquel, Rachel, whatever, and Kristen Doty. You should grovel. You should really fucking beg like you did with Lisa Vanderpump when she would fire you from the show and basically from SUR, and you knew that meant the show, and you would cry. You should be doing that because I'm really mad at you. So I think you're part of the reason why Vanderpump Rules got canceled. I think Sandoval is probably the number one reason it got canceled, because if he never would have cheated on Ariana, really, I do think the show would have continued and maybe we wouldn't have had Scandoval, but we would have whatever, something. I actually think that even if Tom cheated on Ariana with Raquel and then he apologized, remember when he like refused to apologize and he just thought like, oh, him and Raquel were in love, and then plus Ariana wasn't fucking him and he thought that he could cheat. If he would have from day one, again, said he was sorry, grovel, like I think him and Ariana actually might have stayed together. And the whole trajectory of everyone's life would have been different. So I blame Tom. I blame James for being a piece of shit. I blame Lala because, again, she got, first of all, her being in this relationship with Randall, I think was like always fucked up and weird from the beginning, how she wouldn't bring it on camera and always got a pass and like got to keep things off the show. She was like the queen of hiding things off the show. So when she rode so hard to grill Ariana for that, it was like truly the number one hypocritical thing I've ever seen. And like, duh. To me, it was like, duh, they truly like, duh. I was so like, wanted to slap her. I literally was like wanting to get popped. Like I wanted to pop Ariana, or I wanted to pop Lala. I did. I was like, I wanted to strangle her. The only person I'm not mad at is Katie. Katie showed her whole divorce with Schwartz. She showed everything. She bled on this show. I think Katie left it all on the field. I do. I think Katie left it all on the field. I think Ariana did give us everything she could. Even Schwartz at the end there. I think Sheena I'm disappointed with because I don't like Brock and I don't like watching them and I don't like how she ended up. Like I think if she should have tried harder to go the route of being with one of the B-list celebrities she was always hanging out with, and like kind of like got into like a Rob Valletta situation with like some other guy who was like a soap star, or like she's always talking about Jesse Metcalf or like some of these other guys that she used to hang out with. She should have went that route, because I think that her shacking up with Brock and hitching her wagon to him for the rest of her life was the worst decision ever. So again, I think I kind of blame the end of Vanderpump Rules on that too, because that disconnected us a lot from Hollywood and the circles there that they were running in, and then everybody having the babies and having the pressure to have the kids. And that was all the end of Vanderpump Rules for me. So to say it was canceled, I guess at the end of the day, I wasn't surprised, because when Lala did that last appearance where she said that none of them were friends and she wasn't willing to reconcile, I do think that fucked everything up for everybody. And when she recently admitted that she thinks that had something to do with it, I agree. I think you did basically put the last nail in the coffin. Like that was it. So maybe you guys all learned a lesson about ego and learning that like nobody's bigger than the show, and that you have to come on with like your real life and be authentic and quit all of this shit and quit trying to like be, I don't know, brands, and just be people who like have real friends. Again, like having real groups of friends. If you notice, there are no Real Houses of New York moments on here because they're not real friends and they're not a real cast and they don't like each other. They don't do things together. They don't know even like each other's kids' names. Like they don't know each other, and it comes off so fake when they film. And like that was kind of where that happened too. So I'm not surprised, I guess, in the end that's what happened. I think it was just like the way they cleaned house, and then how they didn't announce that the show was over. They just announced that there will be a new season with an entirely new cast. I think we are going to be sitting here a year from now talking about what a surprise the new Vanderpump Rules is. I think I actually have somewhat decent expectations of it. I will be watching for sure. And I follow all these people on social media now, and I'm kind of been looking into the cast. I mean, they look young, hot, and messy. I know what it's like to work in bars and restaurants. I'm sure they all are hooking up, and looks like there's some messy people working there. So I'm going to be paying attention and tuning in. But thank you all for being here for my 10 most talked about moments of reality TV of 2024. We still have a couple days left of the year, but let's hope there's no more other crazy breaking news because I can only handle so much. I appreciate everybody being here, being a follower this year. Thank you so much for being along on this Bella Talks TV journey with me. I'm hoping to have so much more content and collaborations coming for you in 2025. So please stay tuned and make sure that you're supporting the show. And I will leave you all with that. So have a great, happy new year. Have a safe time. Email me, DM me if you guys ever want me to talk about something on the show or want to come on in 2025. And I'm looking forward to all having lots more to talk about with you guys. So this is a machine that never stops, and I'm happy to be part of it. All right. Ciao, Bellas. Love you. Happy New Year.